Welcome. Well, you're at home with Jim and Joy, and you are an important part of our EWTN family. And we're so delighted that you have welcomed us into your home. We would love to hear from you. So send us an email with a question or a comment to jimandjoy@ewtn.com. Today, our guest is Brandy Meeks. She is the president of Vitae Foundation, which uses research and data to create messaging strategies to share with the pro-life community with the goal of ending abortion. Before we go any further, I'd like to say, if you're out there and you watched yesterday's show and today's show, and you're a man or a woman, you are post-abortive, and maybe you believed a lie that was strategized to you, whether you believe it or not, we want you to know there's hope.
Amen.
And there's healing. And we want you to go to Support Abortion, supportafterabortion.org. You can go to optionline.org, and you could find a healing center place near you.
And today we're rejoicing over Mother Angelica, the 100th birthday of Mother Angelica, her anniversary today. And it's EWTN Giving Day. Please consider becoming a monthly donor in her honor. Joy and I are monthly donors. Many people at work are monthly donors. www.ewtn.com/Giving Day. Go there to learn more how we can say, thank you, Mother. And thank you that her work continues in her intercessory prayers for this network. We wouldn't be able to reach you unless she took that step and opened herself up. Her desire to communicate the gospel locally and then to the whole world for the renewal of the church and awakening in the countries upon the face of the earth. So thank you, Mother. EWTN.com/Giving Day. Go there to learn more.
And we always have Mother Angelica with us in our coffee mugs. I also have a prayer card that was touched to Mother Angelica's body that we keep with me. I keep with us all the time when we do the show, because we know we are sitting at a table that we did not set. She suffered, she endured, she persevered. She was a woman of great fortitude, great faith, great courage, and great trust in God alone. And for Mother Angelica, we thank you.
Tremendous pro-life leader. And so we're going to share more about the Vitae Foundation, research, data, being the best communicators possible so that we can save lives and souls and build a new culture of life. We'll be right back. Plenty more to come. Please don't go away.
Welcome back. Well, today we have Brandy Meeks with us again. She's the president of the Vitae Foundation, which uses research and data to create messaging strategies to share with the pro-life community with the goal of ending abortion. It's a great goal. Please go to their website, thevitaefoundation.org. Well, you'll be empowered with the truth, ways to share. What do I do if I have a family member who is maybe in an unplanned pregnancy, or a church member, or maybe you're a pastor and you haven't dealt with this issue very well in your parish? There's research, there's information that you and I need to know. And believe me, is it ever changing? Yes, it is ever changing. What we're going to do right now is we're going to go to this beautiful video that they created that tells exactly what they do.
What Vitae does really falls into 4 simple steps. They identify the need for research based on the evolution of the abortion issue. They conduct the research using emotional research methods. They test their messaging with real women across the country, and then they share what they've learned with the world. All of this is done with the ultimate goal of saving more women and babies from abortion.
Well, Dr. Bronchowski does a great job, and we had him on our show, and he had a beautiful conversion story to tell. So he knows the evil of abortion. He knows the truth of life. So what have you found with the landscape changing post-Roe? What's happening with the abortion pill? What's happening with Plan C? I mean, because it's ever fluid right before our eyes.
And what's being marketed by
Yeah.
these people at this point, and what do we need to be marketing in the best sense of that word?
Right. Well, they have been training, equipping themselves for this day when Roe was going to be overturned, when the Dobbs decision was going to happen. They knew it was coming, they felt it was coming, and so they made sure that the abortion pill was readily available. That's what we have to be wise about now. That's what we have to know. That's what we have to recognize. That's how we protect our churches. That's how we protect our homes, right? Because whether people know it or not, the abortion pill can be mailed to any address in the United States, any state. Even if we have these laws that are out there that say that it's illegal, even if the brick and mortar sites have closed and surgical abortion is not happening in your state, the abortion pill can still be mailed into your homes, into our homes. And so we have to be ready for that.
Yeah. So the abortion pill itself, not to be confused with the morning after pill.
Correct.
Right, they're two different things, morning after pill and the abortion pill. The way it's being marketed, and the girls that come into our pregnancy medical center, it's kind of like, give me the pill. Like they think you
Like
take
I'm
a
gonna
pill.
pop
You
an
take
aspirin.
you take a pill, and the baby's is gone. There's nothing else that really. It's so easy. I want the pill.
Right.
So I mean that's the way it's kind of marketed. This is so easy. So just share with us again what the pill actually does. Why is this such a high risk for a woman? Why is this kind of being marketed where you don't even have to see a doctor? Why is it important that you should have an ultrasound? I mean, even if it's going to be legal in a state where they're doing this, the protection of the woman. Why is it so dangerous not to have an ultrasound? And that's what's happening. I mean,
Absolutely.
it's terrible.
So going back to their speaking points, the other side is saying it's safer than a Tylenol, safe and effective, right? The problem is it's not safer than a Tylenol. There's new research that's recently come out by an unbiased source. It's not pro-life, not pro-abortion, that they're saying that this is sounding the alarm that this is not the case,
Right.
okay? They are, they're promoting it without use of any doctor's oversight. And this actually happened during COVID. This change happened during COVID, and now we have women that are able to order the abortion pill online, have it delivered to their homes. They are delivering their preborn babies at home. I'm so thankful, Joy, that you opened this segment up with sharing about how you can find healing after abortion. And if that's anyone's experience that's listening to this right now, my prayer for them is they are able to connect with that. Because it is becoming more readily available. There is another degree of healing that has to take place when they are in the place, the bathrooms, the homes, the living rooms where they have experienced this trauma, and that is where they're at every single day. And we have to be prepared. I mean, I have 5 kiddos, right? I have to make sure that my children, my home is protected as well. And part of that is acknowledging it for what it is. There are 2 pills in the abortion pill regimen, mifepristone and misoprostol. Mifepristone is taken as the first abortion pill, and it is taken to actually starve the baby of progesterone. And this is what makes the, actually puts the abortion into motion. And then the mifepristone is taken later to then, misoprostol is taken later to expel the baby, to expel the pregnancy.
It brings on labor.
Absolutely. You're delivering your babies at home. Most of the times by yourself in that isolation. And that's what we have to acknowledge it for what it is. It's not just the pill, but the other side is they're calling it, you're saying it's the abortion pill. They will tell them that it's their opportunity to get their period back. This is not just getting your period back. Yes, they will say that you're going to bleed like you're having a heavy period. Not the case as well. Women are disturbed when they find out how much they're actually bleeding. But again, these are the things that we have to be truthful about and honest about it and acknowledge it for what it is.
Because the abortion industry and the culture of death has very deceitfully, cleverly marketed that abortion is women's health care. And abortion is a woman's right. And abortion is her body, her choice. And so clients come in just spewing the rhetoric. but they don't even believe it. And I'll say, what does that mean?
Yeah.
You know, and they'll go, I don't know. Like, I'm just telling you what I've heard, you know?
Right.
And they're just going with it and not even understanding. And then we show them, this is what comes out of you. Then what are you going to do? You know, and girls have been in their showers thinking they're going to die. They've been dropped off by their boyfriends. You know, if they, back in the day when they would go into the abortion clinic to get the pill. But now it's like, what are we going to do? Put a police officer at every mailbox?
Yeah.
I mean, how do we monitor that?
So this abortion pill, RU486, 2 pills, it's through an 8-week period or 10-week, they say, a pregnancy.
Right.
You can take it up to that. Okay, so this is not being controlled. So women are taking this beyond that point and that time. I mean, we had in Birmingham, somebody gave at one of the abortion mills, RU486, the woman must have been like 20 weeks pregnant. She went into the emergency room with the baby coming forth from her.
Hemorrhaging, I'm sure.
And the baby was there, okay, and dead. And so that clinic got closed down. And so these women are getting injured. They're going into these hospitals. What's happening? Why isn't this being reported, or doctors coming forward, or what are they being told to handle if they do have to go in, which is many cases you do need to go in to get a D&C or whatever you need to have because the baby hasn't totally come. Share with us about that.
They are telling.
Who's they?
The abortion industry, International Planned Parenthood, Plan C. These groups are telling women that when they go in to see about abortion complications, the emergency room, to tell them that they're having a miscarriage. Tell them that they're having a miscarriage because the treatment's the same. I don't know about you, but anytime I've ever gone to the emergency room, they want to know what I had for breakfast that morning, what I had for lunch, if I so much as took a Tylenol, right? I cannot help but think that if I took an abortion pill, ingested something like that, they would not want to know that information. It wouldn't be helpful for them to truly be able to assess my situation. But they're trying to protect themselves with deceit. And so ectopic pregnancies, that's a whole nother story. They can't be solved with the abortion pill, right? That's not going to take care of it. So women are going to be harmed. Healthcare heals. This is not healing. This creates more complications and more problems, even if it's not just physically, but psychologically, we know as well.
And we know that medicine heals and chemicals destroy. So this is a chemical abortion.
Right. Let's call it what it is.
And they're being told when you take that first dosage of mifepristone, be sure to take the second dose because the baby will have brain defects.
That's right.
And so they're implanting fear. Then they couple it with a lie. And so, and if it's so safe, and if it's so wonderful, why do we have to tell them a lie and put fear into their hearts?
If we were truly wanting to see if the abortion pill could damage women or hurt women or harm them, don't you think they would want to be tracking the complication rates in the emergency room instead of trying to mask it? With me personally, any woman who's ever had a miscarriage should be devastated and honestly furious that one of the most painful moments in my life is being exploited to cover the complications of the abortion pill.
So what you're doing right now is what your foundation is about. In other words, you're sharing the data, you're sharing the research. We know the fallout we're hearing from people. And you're articulating that so somebody won't do this, you know, right? And that's what you're saying. We need to know how to connect and share with them to say this is what could happen to you, not only your child, but this is what this is about. This is a great danger and affects you at every level. Then we have to deal with as well the millions of people, millions of women who've done this. Okay, so how do we speak to them? You know, because they're like, well, I'm wasted. There's no hope for me. So we need to know what's the drivers with them, and how can we share a word in season that would give them hope and would understand mercy and a new beginning, and maybe even when you're healed, you could become, as John Paul II said, one of the most articulate spokespersons on behalf of life. He not only wants to forgive you, but maybe you'll find your voice in this and say, I'll never say to you, I can't see how you can do this because I did this.
Yeah. And let's think about, we have all of this army of women that are able to rise up to share their stories, like what you're saying. But also let's consider getting to them younger. Let's figure out ways to be able to connect with young people because we know the other side. They're training them up to be their next customer, right? Yeah. They are absolutely targeting them. So let's figure out a way not to just rescue people from the stream, but go upstream and figure out why they're falling in the first place, right?
Right.
So let's go and let's reach young people. At Vitae Foundation, we've been doing that. We were a part of the Seek conference through Focus in St. Louis this year. It was phenomenal. We had a 7 a.m. workshop on women's health care, the truth about women's health care. And it was full. College students, full. It was amazing. We got to share, I was able to share about some of the things that are happening with the abortion industry and how they manipulate women, young women, to create customers. And then we also had Teresa Kinney, who's a family nurse practitioner, be able to share about ways to be able to protect their female body, to understand it better, to know more about their body so that when the abortion industry comes a-calling, like they do, they know how to defend life and how to take care of themselves well. It was truly a beautiful
It's
thing.
not only the dangers, I'm sure, in the way you all articulate things of the feminine genius, the beauty of femininity, that if they're equipped, and I think we should do it earlier, the parents and the domestic church and their responsibility and curriculum of some kind to help people so that they could say, I would never do this. I love myself too much. You know, I'm not going to believe those lies. I understand how my body functions. This is a wonder, and everything you're offering me absolutely reverses this.
And it's abusive. Everything that they offer is abusive. The lies and the manipulation, those are things that if you saw somebody who was in a bad relationship experiencing, you would tell your friend to get out. That's what they're doing to them. And so if we can get ahead of that and communicate that to young people like we are doing, we do have the opportunity to be able to equip them with tools so that they can make good choices before they're even in that situation.
I want you to share with us when you submitted your papers and about the show and what you were hoping and so on. Then there was this attachment, like 2 or 3 pages. I was thinking, where does this fit? But you spoke about attending some festival, and it was kind of like you were just led into, providentially, I think, kind of the inner workings of the abortion industry and met various people. And so can you share with us a little bit about that festival?
Sure. So I'm talking about the South by Southwest Festival. It is attended by about 50,000 people. Stars that you might know about, Robert Downey Jr., William Shatner, to name a couple, Nick Jonas. They get together they talk about social issues and how it relates to technology and things that are creative, film, music, that sort of thing. And I looked at the schedule because I happened to be going down there for a wedding in the area. And I looked at the schedule and I couldn't believe how many times they were going to talk about abortion. They had Cecile Richards, who's the former CEO and president of Planned Parenthood, that was going to be speaking there. They also had a group called Plan C, and they were going to show a screening of Plan C's documentary that is named Plan C as well. Plan C is not a distributor of the abortion pills. They do not make them. They do not distribute them themselves, but they're a connector. And they were there showing their film. And I will tell you, the things that we saw, my daughter and I attended, after the film was over, they invited us to an after party. And we prayed about it.
Your daughter?
My daughter, she's 15. When we left that movie theater, I could actually feel like the heaviness, the darkness lift that we had experienced in that movie theater as soon as we stepped out into the light. And then a woman, she leaned over and she handed me an invite and said, would you join us for this after party? We need more young people. And she nodded to my 15-year-old daughter. So we prayed about whether or not we should attend, and we decided, okay, we're in, like, this is what we came here to do. I asked her for her permission, and she said, this is, Mom, we got to go. So we drove to a different location. We went inside. It was actually beautiful. That's how the enemy does, right? A lot of chatty volunteers around, and we sat down to listen to the panel talk about their strategy for post-Roe America.
Why don't we just hold up right at this point? We have to take a break.
Okay.
But we're going to continue this story of being invited to spy on what was going on here and what you heard and saw, that we might better understand what we're dealing with at this time. Go to Vitae Foundation, VITAE Foundation.org for more information. We'll be right back. Don't go away. Well, welcome back. We're having an enthralling story about this festival that you went to, about social issues, very liberal, progressive, and abortion was a real hallmark of it. So you're just bringing us into a special meeting that you were invited to, you and your daughter. What did you hear? What did you see? What do we need to know?
Sure. So let me actually take one step back and share with you about a woman named Francine Coteau. She's the founder of Plan C. So she was featured in this documentary. And one scene from the documentary, she was actually shown going into college bathrooms and putting the Plan C abortion pill stickers with the QR code so that women can get it. She was putting them on the bottom of mirrors. Yeah. She was putting on the backside of toilet paper dispensers. And one scene, she goes and she picks up a Bible that had been placed by somebody, some missionary, up on top of the paper towel dispenser, and she pulled it down. She looked right at the camera and she said, "If they can do it, we can too."
Right.
And she took that sticker and she put it in the copy of God's Word, right there in the front cover.
Yeah.
And not one sound was made in that movie theater. Not one. No one gasped. No one had a response. Francine has a bit of a troubled past. She was, troubled as far as us as conservatives would be concerned, right? She was with the California Commission for Cloning. She was with a group out of New York for the New York Council, our Population Council, and she's also the founder of Plan C. Well, when my daughter and I went to go sit in that room at that after party, we sat about 3 rows back, trying to be a little bit incognito, not wanting to draw attention to ourselves, and there were chairs that were open, and there we looked over and a woman sat down on the other side of my daughter. And she leaned in and gave her a grandmotherly type smile. And it was Francine. And my daughter looked over at me and we locked eyes. And I could tell she knew. She gave me the nod. And I knew that everything was going to be okay because she knew who she was, right? She recognized her for who she was. But I will tell you, had we met in the grocery store or any other place out of context, we might not have been, our spidey senses might not have been tripped, right? But it was concerning for us. And it was in that moment that I actually wondered how many daughters this woman's organization had stolen from their mothers. And I tell you what, that really hit my heart to know that she could have, I felt like she perfectly positioned herself to the youngest person in the room. She could have sat anywhere. And yet she sat right next to my 15-year-old daughter. Right. And I have to tell you, when she left, someone came to get her for an interview to take her outside, and she slipped out, I would say, quietly and somewhat undetected. And I think that's very much the same way that the abortion industry, that the evil of the abortion industry has done to us. It's often sitting right next to us and we don't even realize it.
We just have about a minute left. So just whatever closing word you want to share with our family.
I just want to say that when we have the tools like research available to us, we can recognize evil for what it is and we can do something about it. That's what Vitae Foundation does. That's what you all are doing here today to help us sound the alarm on this, to pull back the curtain, to know things like Plan C. We've all been conditioned to think horrible things about just Planned Parenthood, but it's beyond that. The landscape is changing, and we have to work together, right, with the research and a strategy like what we've been talking about. So I'd encourage you, if you want resources, if you want to know how to talk about the issue in your own circle of influence, if you want to know what's going on, please come to our website so that we can connect with you. Sign up for our newsletter.
Brandy, thank you so much. We thank you for the great work of the Vitae Foundation. Go to vitaefoundation.org now so you can hear more about this incredible ministry, because they want to equip you to do the work of the ministry in building up a new culture of life and family, in your church, in our communities, in the nation, and in the world. vitaefoundation.org. Hope you've been encouraged today. Altogether, we will build a new culture of life, marriage, and the family. Bye now.